welcome back to Stamping at the Warren, and I'm Kim Tolton, and today I'm sharing with you a card that I've made for one of my son's birthdays. You've probably, if you watch my videos and go on my blog, you probably know which son it is. It's my son Chris. He loves anything to do with aviation. He wanted a career in the RAF, but his asthma prevented him from doing so. But that hasn't stopped him. He still has been out in trainer planes, trainer jets with the RAF doing loop-the-loops, and he's a fully qualified glider pilot, and he just is a real enthusiast of anything, and he particularly likes the more vintage planes and the era of the First World War as well. So when Stampin' Up brought out the stamp set I'm using today, I was just delighted. You can't now get it as part of the Bration promotion, unfortunately, but I'm sure many of you will have got this by putting in your qualifying £45 orders. Up until this set was no longer available mid-February. But for those of you that do have it, I thought I would share it with you. So the products that we're using is the, I think it's Atlas. It's basically the World Atlas Textured Impressions Embossing folder, which I've got in the background here using crumb cake cardstock. Then the card base is a 5-inch card base, so that measures, oh gosh, my brain's gone absolutely dead. I've got it here for you. It is 13.5 by 27 centimetres. There you go. That's why I couldn't remember it. It's not a size I do often. And then you score through the middle here at 13.5 centimetres. And I've used thicker Whisper White cardstock to make this card base, and just fold in half so that nasty score line is inside the card, and once you put your card insert in there that you'll write your greeting on, you won't see that at all. Onto that goes a piece of perfect, artistic perfection, something like that. It will come to me as I'm talking to you. Perfectly artistic, there we are, perfectly artistic. So we're using a piece of that designer series paper, and again, it's no longer available. It was available in the earlier part of the Celebration promotion, but no longer. But I know that many of you watching will have it, or will have something similar. And this measures 13 by 13 centimetres, and that just goes straight down onto your card base. I'm using fast fuse. You could use tear and tape or Tombow, whatever you like, really. So that goes down on your card base, and make sure you've got the opening the way you want it to be. I like mine to be a mounting fold, so it stands like that. But I know a lot of people like it as a side fold that way, so it's just what's personal preference. When I do square cards, I tend to go with mounting folds. Right, so that goes down there. Next is a piece of crumb cake cardstock, which measures 13 by 13 centimetres. Now obviously that's the same size there. So what you're going to do is you're going to roughly tear this so that this goes down on here once it has been dry embossed. So that goes to one side. Then for this smaller panel, which is the one that we're going to be stamping the plane onto, you just want a piece of the, I wonder what colour that comes under actually, I would say that's Lossagoon. and that measures 8.4 by 8.4 centimetres, and that is what we will mat this smaller Very Vanilla cardstock onto, which is 8 by 8 centimetres, and that, once it's been stamped, will go on there. And then you just want a scrap of Very Vanilla. The other products you need are the mini silver brads. You'll need a paper piercing tool to make the hole. There's a 1/2 inch punch. We also need the tags and labels framelits dies. That textured impression embossing folder, and the sky is the limit stamp set. You also want a little scrap of white vellum. So that's what we are up to today. Right, so I'm going to start you off with the embossing. So I'm just going to pop that up there. We are using 2 stamps out of this, which is the plain and the birthday. Happy birthday. There we are. And so let's start with the dry embossing. So just bring the big shot up, and I just need to grab the multi-purpose platform. You also need 2 acrylic pads, and you want your multi-purpose platform to be on tab 1. So you put 1 acrylic cutting plate in. You then pop in your piece of crumb cake cardstock that you've torn, and that goes inside the embossing folder. And you just want to pay a little bit of attention to the sort of direction, but it doesn't really make a great deal of difference. So pop that in, that goes down, and then your second acrylic plate goes down. You should always have the fold on your texture impressions embossing folders should be the first part that goes through. If you do it the other way, you can end up with creases, whereas if it goes through this way, if it does move, it's just going to move as it goes through. The other way, you can end up, as I say, with creases and the such like in your cardstock. So that then goes through your big shot. There we go. And that is the last bit we need with the multi-purpose platform. I'll go back to the magnetic one in a moment. That goes back down for a bit. And I think that that is such a lovely embossing folder. I absolutely adore it. And because this is a similar colour, this is actually Tip Top Taupe, but the crumb cake works on here really, really well. So this just goes down with a bit of fast fuse or whichever adhesive, and you can use it with the deboss side or the embossed side facing you. I just think it's nice with the embossed side showing. The debossed side is the opposite, which is equally nice. So it's just what, again, personal preference really. That's the bit about card making that's lovely, because the final decisions come down to you and you know, what you like. So this can then go down onto our card base, which I popped to one side somewhere. Where? My card base. How can my card base just disappear from underneath my nose? Dear me. Well, it's probably right in front of me. It's probably this bit here. Yes, it's this bit here, look. Oh dear. I thought I was going to have a better day today, but I'm not doing so well, I don't think. Right, this smaller square of Very Vanilla is what we're going to stamp the planes onto. And I'm just using Archival Basic Black. And we're going to be doing some stamping off the page. This first one you're going to put down so it goes right through the middle at an angle, so it's as if it's banking round, and I don't like that side. Typical. Rub that out. Go again. I'm so used to the standard ink pads with Stampin' Up, and the archival ones is a completely different texture, much denser, and you have to actually stamp a lot harder, so I'll let you remember that. And it's nice when you see a demonstrator getting it wrong, a very experienced demonstrator getting it wrong, because it just shows that we're human. So you can see that sort of looks like it's banking around, and then what you're going to do, you're going to put just a little hint of a plane there. Ink it up again. And you're going to put a hint of a plane there as well. And the stamping off just means you're just putting that tiny image, tiny bit of an image on to the cardstock. Right, whilst I'm there, I'm going to do the birthday sentiment, and then I can put my ink pad away. And this sentiment comes from the same stamp set, so just the one stamp set today. I know I'm often doing lots and lots and lots of stuff. You get a right mixture of it all, but today quite simple. And often simple is really good. Right, there's your birthday sentiment. I'll leave that there for a moment to dry. Before this goes down onto this piece of Designer Series paper, you just need to punch out a tiny little piece, little circle. So it's a half centimetre punch, the white vellum, and just punch out a single little piece of vellum. You can probably see it if I pop it on there just. And this is going to be what goes over the propeller to make it look as if it is actually running, as if those blades are turning. And I just need my, so just make a little hole in there, just gently. You don't want to make too large a hole because the brads are quite small. And then you're just going to do the same through the centre of the propeller on your piece of cardstock, your stamp cardstock. And get out just one of those teensy little brads. And pop it onto the little circle. And then through that bit there, and just pull back. Okay, and that's secure on there. And that just gives a little look of the blades turning, because it's different colour to the surrounding stamp. A little bit of fast fuse, or whichever adhesive. And that goes down onto this piece of perfectly artistically. It's gone again. And then this, a few Stampin' dimensionals on the back of this piece. Just 4, don't need more than that. Just 1 in each corner. And then this can go onto your card base. Fairly centrally, just eyeball it. And then the last thing to do is to die cut out that sentiment, because that will be nice and dry now. And this time we're using the tags and labels framelits. We're using a ticket style one. And these are super because you get these traditional tag shaped dies, and then you get the ticket shaped dies as well. So that shape, you can see there. And that's the one for that particular stamp. Now I'm back to using a magnetic platform. Get it as centrally as you can. And then run it through your big shot. And those clicks and clanks are all completely normal. It just tells you that the big shot is running over the cutting blades of the die. So nothing to worry about at all. Pop your dies away so they don't get lost. And there is 13, so there is a lot to lose. There's 13, so to find out how many are in and the sizes, it tells you what they are on the front of the packaging. And if you turn them over on the white panel here, it will give you how many dies are in the pack, so 13. And it also lists the sizes of each of them. So when you come to matting, you know which ones to pick. And it conserves a bit of cardstock, because you can cut your cardstock down to the right size. And this is just going to go down here, and I'm going to put this one, shall I put it up there? I might put it there actually. I think I'm going to put it there. So I'm going to put one. And that's because it's randomly stamped, so you never stamp in the same place twice. Unless you're using a Stamp-A-Majig, obviously. Right, I'm just going to use Fast Fuse just on this little bit here, just so that that bit sticks. Would help if I got it in the right place. And then that can go down just like that, and there is your birthday card. Really quick, really simple, but really effective, and anybody, any man who has any sort of interest in planes is gonna just love anything made with this stamp set. So that's it for today, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow with another project. Remember that you can follow my community Pinterest board, where if you start following it, then so long as I see you have an interest in Papercraft, I will send you an invitation, and that will, if you decide you want to agree to that, then you can just start pinning pictures onto my community board. They must be Papercraft, but you do not have to be using Stampin' Up products, and you do not have to be a customer or a blogger or a demonstrator. It's open to anybody who has enthusiasm for Papercraft, and it means we all get very similar images posted in one place to share with one another, and oh, the whole Ethernet. And that's it really. So leave your comments, just leave out the dizzy bit. I wish I was blonde to say I was a dizzy blonde, and I don't mean that in a nasty way. I mean it about myself. There's just a lot going on in my head, and it's just not thinking particularly straight right now. And yeah, I'll be fine. Give me a week or so, and I'm sure I'll be back to my normal self. That's it for today, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for another project. And yeah, that should be fun. I think we're doing a kids card tomorrow. I think I might. I'll see how I feel. That's it for today anyway. I'll speak to you again very soon. Ta-ta for now.